You're live.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. The next item on the agenda will be a public hearing for Tavern on the Wharf, alteration of premises. In accordance with Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held remotely on Tuesday, May 25th, 2021 at 6 p.m. to consider the application for alteration of premises from Tavern on the Wharf LLC, 6 Town Wharf, Paul Tupper, manager, holder of all alcohol restaurant license. Description of the premises is as follows: 9,100 square feet, which includes a foyer, bar area, dining area, function area, exterior back patio, and kitchen. Total of 4 exits, 2 entrances are at the front of the building. Applicant seeks to add outdoor front patio area of approximately 658 square feet, consisting of bar, seating, and standing areas. I now declare the hearing open, and is there anyone presenting for Tavern on the Wharf?
Yes, Attorney Stephen Trifletti on behalf of Tavern on the Wharf. Good evening, Chairman Richard Quintal and members of the Select Board. We're delighted to be here before you this evening with this proposal to improve what is currently in place at Tavern on the Wharf. During the pandemic, my clients have been setting up temporary seating out front on the patio. It's been very successful, and to our knowledge, there have been no complaints or problems. They now propose to do a much improved presentation in that area. And this evening, I'm joined by Paul Tupper, who is the manager, and also by Jeffrey Metcalf, who is the architect. I don't see that he has come in to this hearing, and I'd ask that if he's in a waiting room, if he could be let in. But otherwise, I can let you know that I was there as recently as today. The proposal does not include any request for an increase in the seating other than what is currently there temporarily during the pandemic. Tavern on the Wharf has now been in Plymouth for several years. And in fact, as you may recall, for those of you who were sitting board members at a recent hearing, they are also opening a second restaurant in Cedarville, which will be known as Plymouth Public House. Mr. Tupper is here to answer any specific questions that any board members may have, but in general, I would say that the proposal before you this evening is an improvement. It is being done with the services of an architect. It complies with requirements of the town, and it is consistent with building and zoning code. And I do see that Mr. Metcalf apparently has been admitted. He's shown as Jeff, and there he is. And if board members have further questions or would like a more detailed presentation from Mr. Metcalf, he's available to either present or to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tripletti. Welcome, Mr. Metcalf. How are you doing?
Good, and yourself, Mr. Quintal?
All right. Any questions from board members, please? No questions from board members?
I do.
Mr. Helm?
Yes, I have a question. This would be less for the architect and perhaps for Mr. Trifletti and Mr.
Mr. Helm? Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So this is a question less for an architect and more probably for Mr. Trifletti and Mr. Tupper. Are you intending to have live music out there?
No. Nope, not at all.
No.
Okay, thank you.
And all that was going to be my question, Harry. Same as yours, so thank you for that question, Mr. Tupper. So basically, they're doing what they've been doing in the temporary COVID right out there on the patio, I believe. Right?
Correct.
That's
Correct.
correct, except that it'll be a substantial improvement from what you see there now.
Okay. Any more questions from board members? Seeing none, I'm going to ask, is there anyone out in the audience or in the waiting room wishing to speak in favor of this proposal?
Not at the moment.
Anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
No, sir.
Did you say no, Chris? It's breaking up a little.
No, sir. Sorry.
He said no.
Okay, seeing none in opposition, bring it back to the board for a recommendation.
Motion to approve, please.
Second that?
First and seconded. Mrs. Cavaco,
Yes.
Mr. Helm,
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty,
Yes.
myself, yes, it's unanimous, and good luck with your project.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
The next item on the docket will be select resignation, and there was a letter in your packet, I believe, from Pearl, the town clerk, on what her recommendation or hope is. But Melissa, can you speak to that, or is Pearl here, or?
Sure. Town Clerk Sears had another engagement this evening. I've included in number 4 of my town manager's report some information about the special election. Now, most of this you have been,
Hope is.
talks about the logistics and some of the options for you to consider. Information about all a special election, and the election date has to be at least 64 days after you call for it. At the earliest, that would be at the end of July, if the board acted immediately tonight. Now, certainly you can decide not to hold an election and operate with the 4 of you unless 2 from our residents are submitted, our registered voters are submitted to call for the election. Town Clerk Sears has asked for some consideration in terms of timing due to staffing, as well as some polling location issues and some information to do with the early voting. So if you would just take that into consideration, I know how much you would appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Yes. I have a question.
Mrs. Cavaco?
Melissa is, and I've read the email from Pearl. My issue is that, you know, if we call for a special election, I know that the residents want it done immediately, as soon as possible. What, you know, can you like explain to the public, like what some of the issues are? I know that, you know, being in a hot building with no air conditioning, I know that we have issues getting wardens and poll workers, and even just, you know, staff itself. So if you could just touch on it real quick so people understand.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great idea. So I'm going to actually go through each point in her letter. The temporary election laws were extended through June 30th, and we may not know until late June what the laws will be on July 1st. If vote by mail is extended, we would need to allow time to notify voters and receive applications. Summer is a busy time, and people have travel plans
your volume off and see if it's on mine.
and vacation time already scheduled. We are not denying almost any vacation at this point because so many people weren't able to go anywhere during COVID. So that's an impact, not just to the poll workers, as you suggested, Betty, but also to do with our full-time staff. And unlike a lot of areas where the assistant town manager or I, or some of the department heads, could physically jump in and do the work, with the town clerk's office, it's specific about the programs they use and the state computers and who is allowed on there. So it's more difficult for us to just pitch in. You mentioned the polling locations and the air conditioning. It was an issue on June 19th of 2020, and it will obviously be, potentially, could be hotter for a July or August election. She talks about Voters normally vote in September already, and with the children back in school, she believes more residents will be back from any kind of summer homes or trips. That's certainly anecdotal and subjective. She asked for a September 14th, 2021 date to be considered. It allows sufficient time for candidates to collect and return signatures and prepare their campaigns. We understand, and she writes that she understands it's a longer period of time for the four of you to do work. However, I do believe that our office will be able to help with that, particularly as we put you on an every other week summer schedule. So I really hope that you will consider the workload that she talks about and the points that she makes. Keeping in mind, Pearl is still new. So rushing into anything, as we all know, and we've been there, can lead to mistakes with an election. Certainly that's one of the areas we want to avoid those at all costs.
Thank you. Mr. Helm?
My concern with the delay into September is the fall town meeting. When do the warrant articles for fall town meeting open? When do they close? And when do they go to consideration by the Board of Selectmen, the FinCom?
Excellent point, Selectman Helm. Marlene, I'm going to ask you if you can pull out your book. Do you have the dates handy?
So the warrant will close at the end of August.
When do they go to consideration by the Board of Selectmen?
And they will be, the hearings will be scheduled in September for the Board of Selectmen and the Advisory and Finance Committee.
So the warrant will close at the end of.
Excuse me, I can't really hear anybody. Could everybody that's not speaking mute? Because there's a lot of feedback. And sorry, Marlene, can you say that again?
Sure. So the warrant will close in August. It closes Friday, August 13th. Hearings will generally be scheduled shortly thereafter with the Board of Selectmen and Advisory and Finance, and hearings will definitely be taking place in September.
And when does it open?
The annual warrant opens for fall on July 27th.
Thank you.
Harry, to your point, the date that Pearl is recommending is a Tuesday, September 14th. So if that would be the election at town hall or whatever mail-in we have in the polling locations, we could work around that because that wouldn't be a night for FinCom to meet. That would be a night for you, and we can make arrangements for that because of course you're in the courtroom.
Is there a possibility of a time frame in between the end of July and the middle of September?
I wish Pearl could
I'm
have
just
that with us.
concerned. I'm concerned
Sure.
about bringing a new. I think it's only fair to the citizens of Plymouth that we have a full board going into a town meeting and considering every article. And I'm not sure it makes that we would be able to delay hearing articles and that piling up against the town meeting and having been recently on the Finance Committee, it's already a crazy time for the Finance Committee, and to push the consideration of articles later because we're pushing the election that far off. I have some concerns about that. So my question is, once again, is there a time in between that may work as a compromise?
I didn't ask Pearl that when we received this letter, so I'm happy to do that, to reach out. And if you'd like, we can have her in next Tuesday night so she can answer all these questions right with her present. And she'd be happy to do that.
So could we still motion, Mr. Chairman, and have Pearl in next week?
No,
So-
I'm going to wait till we get a full presentation. I think that's only fair.
Okay.
Is that okay?
So Dick,
You can motion and I'll vote against it because like everybody wants, and that's fine. I want to, hear what Pearl has to say. I mean, that's the reason I'm looking at the September date. It's from staff. But maybe she'll say she has a date in between. If she does that, I'm good with that. You know, I've sat on 4-member boards before, and they've worked. It was no issues at all. But in the spirit of compromise, did people actually take out papers to go get signatures? Mrs. Arrigi, I see you, Pat. Do you know?
Has anybody come in to take out papers? Was that the question?
Yes.
There's no
Yeah,
election.
to collect signatures.
Not at this point, not until you vote.
Okay, thank you. So Patrick?
All I was gonna say is that I also support having an election. And what I would say is I'd like to have it as soon as feasibly possible. Kind of echoing what the others have said. Whatever that is, if it's somewhere in between the July and the later date, I as soon as we feasibly can do it, I would support that.
Okay, well, could you agree in waiting until Pearl comes in next Tuesday?
Yeah,
Um,
let's wait for a date.
Harry,
That's
that
all
all right
right,
with
that's
you?
fine, but
Well, I just want to hear what she has to say about that.
Well, I
You know,
think it
what
makes
the
sense.
timeline is.
I think it makes sense to actually vote on a special election with a time frame for it, rather than just vote on, hey, let's have one. My experience is that it's always good to have a time frame attached to anything like this. It's just my experience.
So
I
you'd
think
like
just
to make a motion to make it other than September 14th is what you're saying?
Well, no, what I'm
Am I misunderstanding?
No, what I'm saying is that I'm in agreement to wait until next Tuesday when we hear from Pearl. But I'm going to echo what Mr. Flaherty said. Okay, the sooner the better.
Okay. Thank you. So Melissa, you'll see to it that Pearl zooms in next week with us?
And we'll
Please.
get you some background, or we'll get some backup information to you ahead of time about other potential dates sometime in August or prior to the September 14th date that she recommended.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Committee liaisons, reports.
No, these aren't reports. These are for us to choose our committee
Oh,
liaisons.
yeah. Well, did you want to hold off on that till we get the next selectman, or did you want to do what we can right now? Till you get a full board?
I mean, I'll continue with the ones that I'm on. I know that
You want to do what we can?
we don't have anything pressing that coming up on any of these committees, do we, Melissa? That, you know, we couldn't jump in, but it probably is best to wait until we have a full board to make these.
Well, previously, Mr. Zavara says 1, 2, 3 on here. Harry, would you mind watching over those until we get a full board, or do you want to just pass them around if needed?
No, I don't have a problem with that. You know, that's not going to be an issue. I can take those over. But one of the ones that I would mention, and Melissa and Marlene, your input on this, Sheila was over the Capital Improvement Committee. And I'm concerned that that is, you know, and I don't know the timeframes for them meeting and their considerations, just expressing possible concern that that is empty for several months.
I
Okay.
would be happy
you
to
like
take
to add
on-
that to the list for you?
No, thanks. That's too close to Finance Committee.
I actually wouldn't mind taking on
Eddie?
capital improvement. Yes. I could do that.
Okay, okay, I'm having issues with the computer. I don't know if it's just me or not, but everything's really delayed and I can't really hear you when I'm talking to you, and I rebooted this and I called Comcast before. Is anyone else having a problem with it, or is it just,
Well, Chris just wrote that the sound issues are
can
with.
you all hear me
Comcast.
okay?
I can hear you on my end.
And Dick, I can hear you as well.
I
All
didn't
right.
hear you.
Sorry. Thank you. Good. And Betty, you said you wanted to take the what was that one you wanted? I'm sorry, it bleeded out on me.
Capital Improvement Committee.
Capital improvement?
And may I also, while I'm making suggestions, the Plymouth 400 Incorporated, is it possible that we can ask Mr. Tavares to remain in place since these are designees? And it looks to me like they don't necessarily have to be on the board, and his experience and knowledge is second to none.
I'm sure he'd be delighted.
I think we should inquire.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Me too.
Do we need a motion for that? Mrs. Avigi, to make him my representative on the 400th, or?
No, I think
We just
you,
go
I think you made that direction pretty
with that.
clear. That's fine, Dickie.
Okay. Anything else from board members?
Nope.
Okay. Seeing none, I'd like to go to public comment, please. And I'm sure we're gonna have quite a few things in there. But first off, I'd like to start with Matt Tavares on the 4th of July committee. Matt?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman and the select board for having us here tonight. Jeff Metcalf and myself are here to speak on behalf of the committee tonight as we thank you all for your patience and many offers of support as the committee worked out the logistics of planning a celebration for the 4th of July weekend. Keeping the priorities, keeping the priorities of public safety and support of our struggling downtown businesses in mind, we are happy to announce that we will be holding an Independence Day celebration that will bring something for everyone to enjoy. We are planning on Sunday, July 4th at 7:30 in the morning. There will be the 6th annual 4th of July 5K from Stevens Field. This annual 5K raises funds each year to go to support the parade and fireworks. Registration for this event is not through the July 4 website, but it can be found at southshorerace.com. On Monday, July 5th, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., the Legion Bud Band will be performing a patriotic concert on the waterfront in the DCR park there at the half shell. At dusk, which is approximately around 9 p.m., we will have fireworks displayed over Plymouth Harbor. We are working on some other activities to take place in the DCR park from 7 to 9 pre-fireworks time frame. Details are not yet confirmed, but we will update the information as the plan comes together. For those of you that have offered assistance in the form of monetary donations, we need to raise about $70,000 in a short window of time. We have a fantastic start to our fundraising effort as we received notice today that the Visitors Service Board has awarded July 4 Inc. $20,000 towards the fireworks. In other good news, the PGDC has also generously donated $5,000 towards our efforts this year, as well as $1,000 came in from the Plymouth Rotary Club, who have always answered the call for us and our volunteers to line up our parade. We have now opened our donation webpage at july4plymouth.com after this announcement for individuals to contribute in any way that they can. On that site, we also share our tracking of where we are on our fundraising goal. This year, it's a little bit lower at $70,000. We thank you in advance for your assistance with donations and helping to spread the word throughout town. And lastly, we would like to thank our town manager, police, and fire chiefs, and all the departments who prioritize this on their schedules and help pull this together so quickly. We wholeheartedly look forward to seeing you all on the waterfront, and we want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I'm wondering, would it be, could the town post that website so people can share it? And also maybe share that information with PACTV so people know where to go to donate?
Yeah, if that question's directed to me, yes, absolutely. That's the intention, and I'm sure we can work with the town manager's office to get that. We can absolutely, typically we write up a press release and put it out. So I'm sure that will come out probably tomorrow. More or less what I probably just said, and we can get that over to PACTV.
Would you mind
Yeah,
sending
Matt,
it to
if
me?
you send anything to, Matt, if you send anything to me, we'll put it on the website under our news and we'll tweet it.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry, Mrs. Kabaka.
Would you mind sending it to me as well?
Of course, of
Thank
course. Anybody else? Well, I'll just take down the emails as we go. Got to get the word out.
Right.
Harry, did you have something to say?
I was just going to say, Matt, amazing job. You're going to make all of the residents, the entire town, really, really happy with the effort. And I know how hard this effort's going to be. And I just want to say, great work. It's really fantastic. Thank you very much.
I thank you for that, but it's not just myself. It's
Right.
it's six of us that really, we were very excited with the governor's announcement. It was just, how do we get over that hurdle? And I thank you for your support.
And I'll echo the board as saying thank you, and I look forward to working with you, and I have something for you, but at another time.
Fantastic, and we can
So
talk.
thank you very much, and I'm sure the citizens of Plymouth and surrounding communities that all visit are gonna be very happy. Yes,
Fantastic. Thank you.
you're welcome. So we're gonna move on to public comment, and before I open it up to public comment, I'm gonna do as many as I can, but I'm gonna have to limit it to probably 10. And I just ask that we don't have repeat remarks. I mean, if somebody says it, please, step up. You have something new, or maybe please something different to add, just in the spirit of time and effort, and give the board also time to discuss this. I'm going to open it up to public comment with your help, Chris. And the board is all here, so let's hear from the first person, which would be Mr. Doyle.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Mhm.
I want to start by thanking the town for everything they've done down here at Whitehorse Beach, from the renovation of Taylor Ave, the sidewalks, the porta potties, the replenishment of the dunes, the dune fencing, the barrels, and the new parking permit program, giving that a shot. We've come a long way, but this weekend we kind of slipped back a little bit, and I just wanted to touch on it. In my view, the town continues to slip at being proactive with forecasting when problems will arise here at Whitehorse Beach. I mean, I saw the problems coming when I saw 90 degrees on a Sunday during graduation and spring break and so forth. It happens every year, and I don't think we were prepared for it, although this was a little different this year. This seemed a little bit planned. I sat on my porch and watched hundreds of kids dragging coolers and backpacks full of booze by my house. And the first thing I knew is we're going to have problems today. And that's really is the first sign. I've heard from many of my neighbors. A few years ago, the town came down hard on the 3rd of July, the antics that went on then, and they made some headway into the problem. It seems like we need that strong coverage all summer long down here. It's not just a 3rd of July problem. It's a 3-month period. And yeah, there's rainy days where things don't happen so much, but there are other days where a lot more happens. We now have a permit parking program that's going to start this weekend, whose success relies solely on enforcement. Enforcement is the big word of the night. Ongoing enforcement is the key to sending a clear message to that the town is serious in creating a safe visit to the beach, with parking available to Plymouth residents. And that's something that the parking committee has worked hard at, making sure that we had parking down here for the committee, for the residents. Currently, though, the message that we're sending out is that Whitehorse Beach is the place you can come and drink, you can smoke pot, you can drag your coolers through the sidewalks and the streets, you can park anywhere you want, in front of hydrants, corners, no parking signs. It just goes on. And I think that we're sending the wrong message that we've slipped backwards and we're sending the wrong message out. It's another message. You can come to the beach, you can have open containers, you can smoke pot openly, and you can fight, even with boxing gloves. So I just want to, it's really a concern for all the neighbors down here, and it should be for all the residents. Consistent enforcement on the beach should be mandatory. Consistent enforcement on the streets should be mandatory over the summer. And many of the key issues that we have are due to the lack of consistent enforcement. This would never happen at Plymouth Beach, Nelson Beach, any of the ponds. I'm sorry, but they're gated areas. They've got control of it. We're not, and we're different down here. And I think that the town needs to kind of get a clearer message out that we're not going to put up with this down here. I watched the mayhem this weekend. The cars parked everywhere, in front of my house, on the corners, in front of hydrants. I spoke to people and let them know they were going to get tickets. And they were like, it is what it is. We're here on a mission. And I didn't realize what that mission was until I got to the beach. But the problem is that people up here, when the streets get all clouded, the fire trucks can't get through. The ambulances can't get through. There were streets totally blocked on both sides. And I didn't see the enforcement to stop it, to tow them away, to ticket them and get here. And I'm not blaming the police on this alone. I don't, it's a budgetary issue. We hear it every year that we need to spend more money on the budget to get more police down in this area. This needs to be discussed. It's just too much to have a public beach packed with kids drinking and smoking pot and going on the way they did this weekend. When the melee began, I began to walk down to the beach. I decided I'd take a look at what was going on. When I got to Taylor Avenue, I came across a family that had just run off the beach, literally. And the husband was standing with his wife and his 2 kids. And they said, this place is crazy. What's happened down here? And they were freaking out and running away from the beach. And I think that's the wrong thing to be happening down here. You can't have, those are the people we want on the beach. And that's what was going on. I mean, you're going to hear a lot more about it, I'm sure, tonight. I understand now that we can't raise the price of a parking ticket to $200. It's not going to work. We're capped at 50. But how many times?
Mr. Doyle,
how many times a day can we?
One more minute. I've given you 5 minutes already.
Sure. How many times can we write a ticket a day? How many people can we tow? Those are the questions that we want to know. I appreciate you giving me the time to talk tonight. We've still got some problems down here, and I hope you can address them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. Quinton.
Saddleman? You're welcome. Pat?
Pat, you're on.
Okay.
You're muted, Pat.
Can you hear me now?
Sure
Yeah.
can. Pat, you muted yourself again. Pat, lower left-hand corner, there's a little microphone. It probably is red with a line through it. Click on it.
Thank you for that lesson. I want to thank you for considering the special election, and the sooner the better. I want to urge any able-bodied person who can work at the polls to go down at Town Hall and sign up so that we are able to have a special election as early as possible. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas Walsh?
I just want to say Mr. Doyle was right what he was saying about White Horse Beach this past weekend and in years past. But I think you're going to have to consider the fact that there's going to be, when you're pushing these people out of the parking area that they're used to squandering in and out, they're going to end up at the school, they're going to end up at Clements, they're going to end up at Rockland Trust, and they're just going to keep on walking down the street. And it's going to be a revolving door, just like it was this weekend. There wasn't enough parking. So what they ended up doing was one car would go down, drop off 8 people, and then drive away, and then come back later on and pick them up. So that's part of the problem. And you're going to have to look at, I think the primary concern is going to be the school, because you can control that. And that's, Mr. Doyle was right on with everything else he said.
Thank you. Scott H. Is Scott in the waiting room? How about Dolores Craig?
I'm here, but I don't have anything to say. Just watching. Thank you.
Okay. John Cole? Everett?
Yes, hi, Everett Malaguti, Chair of Natural Resources Committee and Precinct 1 Town Meeting. I do agree with a lot of what Kevin Doyle said. I do think hopefully that we will be able to control some of it through the new parking program addition. But I agree we need a lot more enforcement that's consistent down there, not just for a certain time frame or for certain holiday events, but it needs to be an elongated mission of the police department to look at all the incidents that have collaborated over the years and fine tune a program that gives them the enforcement protocols to make Whitehorse Beach more of a family-friendly place that we've all been striving for over the past few years and decades. I think the best way is possibly maybe with fall town meeting, maybe getting some additional funding to sponsor for next year's, and even if there could be some additional funding freed up through end of year transfers to get some enforcement, especially with the new parking program going into effect within another 4 or 5 days, that they may need some enforcement during that time period as well. And it's tired of just saying the same thing over, but the town really needs to ante up its enforcement efforts down there, especially this year with everything going on with COVID protocols ending, parking program starting. We need to nip this in the butt right now and not elongate it any further.
Okay, thank you, Everett. Alice Baker?
Thank you, Dick. I'm just gonna hit on with Sunday with all these cars parking. There were 3 lots I want to mention that played a big role in this. 116 Taylor Ave, right down the street here, the Briggs lot. That 2 lots were combined into one, and it can hold up to 95 cars. I did call zoning today to see if there was ever any permits pulled to do anything in this lot. They have nothing. They have absolutely nothing. I checked in to see if there was permits. There was no traffic study done there, no fire or police approvals there. And I talked to Colleen on that, and she knows nothing about a lease that's a 99-year lease. Now, that parking lot was packed Sunday. And if you can fit 95 cars in there, that also explains where this traffic came from. Taylor Ave was literally bumper to bumper the whole day long. I did take some pictures of that. My concern is I think that maybe we should look into that so we don't have this problem in the future. That would be great if we could do that. The other lot I want to mention is the Taylor Ave lot. That lot is owned by the town. It's not under the parking committee's program that they put out there. But that lot, they're supposed to be paying for a sticker to park in that lot. We do not have a sign at that location that stipulates Taylor Ave lot parking sticker required. Now, that should be something that the town needs to look into with DPW about getting a sign outside the Taylor Ave lot. That's important. I've gone in there several times. There's no stickers, and many cars are from out of state. So if there's no sign, then the police officer is not going to be able to enforce the sticker situation. That's with the town. And again, that's not under the program of what the parking committee just went through. That's a continuing situation. So if we could please check that out. That's been going on since 2011. The third lot that they packed into was 54 Taylor Ave, which is not a parking lot. And that's, the discussion with the bathhouse is always being talked about. That was also packed with automobiles Sunday. And from what I understand, I probably check with JB. I thought just the vehicles that are supposed to be in there belong to the lifeguards along with their equipment. But apparently we don't have that many lifeguards down here. So if the town could possibly check with DPW, and maybe in situations like this, that they could put maybe a chain or a rope or something across there to stop the vehicles from going in there. Because those 3 lots of all those cars contributed to a lot of the crowds coming in, the parking and whatnot. And 116, the Briggs lot, there's a lot to be looked in there. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You did.
Thank you. Irene's iPhone, it says.
Yes, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Yes,
Okay. I'm Irene. I live on 49 Hemlock Street. And years, except for last year because of COVID, we never had cars parked in this neighborhood. Now the whole front of my yard is all cars parked. We're on the corner of Hemlock and Diamond. They're parking down towards the dead end, so it leaves us with no parking. My neighbor had cars parked across the street, well, in front of her house. And I happened to go out on my porch because it was starting to rain to shut a window. And 2 boys were getting in their car, or at their car to leave. One is urinating by the telephone pole, and the other one was standing by the driver's side car to wait for him. So I made a point of slamming the window shut so they heard it. And the one that was going to drive turned around and looked at me, and I just put my hands up in the air. I should have taken a picture, but I was just like, this is private property that they're peeing on, and it shouldn't even be tolerated. And we just see such a decline, with the situation. I can't even bring my grandkids to the beach. I go during the week. And it's a shame because, we've lived here for so long and it's always been wonderful. But the last couple of years, this is ridiculous. I mean, I don't think the parking tickets are going to help at all. I think they need to be towed. I don't know if they have to have a parking ticket before they get towed, but that parking ticket, these kids just laugh at it. I don't feel that for that amount, they're all pitching in, either paying it or not paying it. And the other question I have is, isn't it private from the condos down to like the boat ramp? Isn't the public only from the sand strip to the condos?
Mrs. Cavaco?
You know what? I'm actually going to deter this question to Ms. Bostek because she's pretty much an expert about where the lines are drawn. So I don't believe it is private in that area, but Christine, you can correct me.
Me unmute. Okay, Jetty, you're absolutely correct. At the end of the sand dunes down there, at the I guess we could call it the boardwalk, from there over to all of the wall and the boat ramp is definitely public, below the high water mark, and that's about it on that. That's quite true.
So if it's public, why do we have lifeguards down that end of the beach?
I
Well, we
didn't,
do normally have lifeguards. It's just that they don't start. I'm not sure, Melissa, is it June? Like after they get out of school, they're starting?
Yeah, we post different dates when they start, depending on the park. But yes, it definitely works around their academic schedule.
But even when they are there, they're still over near the sand strip and the condos. They're not from the condos down to the ramp. That's what I'm saying. If that's public, why aren't there another set of lifeguards further down? That's all.
We can look into it, but there's not much room right there either.
No. I mean, again, it's the whole parking thing, because nobody ever used to be down that end of the beach except for the families in the community,
Right.
you know? Well, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lynch? Mr. Lynch, you're muted. Okay, I was pressing the wrong button. Okay, folks, thank you very much for allowing many people to speak during public comment. Couple of things. Charlie Baker said that the COVID regulations are going to be dissolved, except for two things: remote meetings and outside dining be allowed. So the question is, are you folks going to, I don't have to answer right now, but are you folks going to continue to do remote meetings, or will you have in-person meetings? Next, big thing. It really involves a lot of different things about Plymouth. And it appears on the front burner as White Horse Beach, and a number of people weighed in, and shucks, I really wish that people could be down there taking videos, whatever, and just seeing what's going on. But the question is, where is Plymouth going? What do we want to see Plymouth to be like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road? Many of you will not be on this board 15 years from now, but you could be those people that set the foundation to make a better Plymouth. And one of the issues that I kind of was looking at, and it's very minor compared to White Horse Beach, was down along the waterfront. I happened to see a business that had blinking lights that it looked almost like a carnival. And my concern is that something we want to have Plymouth be known as? A place to attract a different type of crowd versus what we would like to have. I was told by someone that those lights were coming down this morning, or at least going to be shut off. And I kind of believe that. Unfortunately, I went down later on and the lights were still blinking like a carnival. And my concern is that as we speak, they are still probably blinking. So it would be nice to have a conversation that is ongoing, that people could weigh in on, and have the town meeting members be able to be involved in the conversation, because they represent different areas of the town. And perhaps you folks could be maybe open to having those town meeting members come back and report some of the concerns that the people that they represent are bringing up. So again, I appreciate all that you're doing, and good luck, Mr. Helm. Take care. Thank you. Thank you. Dolores Craig?
I'm still okay. You already checked with me. I'm all set, thanks.
Mr. Chairman, when you're done with all these White Horse Beach people, I'd like to kind of make a comment and just
Okay.
give some information.
Yep. And there's another lady that's under Colonel, that it said before her name, but I don't have a name to call her name. Chris, do you know who it is?
Pam Hoagland
The
would.
second one up on the middle. Hi. John Cole, under John Cole. Is It's Lisa Kearney. that the one? Yeah, I'm sorry. It's Lisa Go Kearney. ahead. I don't know why it comes across that way. I think Mr. Doyle did a great job at explaining what happened and asking specific questions. But one of the other questions I have is also in the chat. Why can't the parking ticket be raised to $200? Why is it at $50?
Melissa?
Sure. The board, the town accepted Mass General Law, Chapter 90, I believe it's section 20 and a half.
Raise it over 50.
20A and a half. So if you want, I can send you the link to that. And that limits tickets to $50 in a certain district, which was part of the reason to make it higher in Whitehorse Beach. The board had to actually establish that as a special district. In some rare circumstances, you can go higher than the 50, but it is related to blocking a school bus stop or a fire hydrant. But in this case, just going up to the 200 would not be legal, and the tickets wouldn't be valid.
Okay. And I did see on Sunday that the police were on the beach and they did have drones on the beach, but there were just maybe 2 policemen on the beach with hundreds and hundreds of kids. Is there anything that can be done where the police are at the entrances of the beach and can check coolers or check, I would just think that would deter the amount of kids that come down if they knew that they were going to be checked right at the entrance. I mean, the nice thing is about Whitehorse is you really have 2 main entrances there. So I just want to kind of throw that out there.
So the chief did have on a sergeant and 2 patrolmen, and you're right, as well as a number of ticketing. We did have them on the beach. We've received the suggestion of having them at both entrances. It's certainly something that I will need to talk about with the chief if he actually wants to station somebody at those spots, for how long, what would the rotation be, those kind of things.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Shannon Kay.
Hi.
Shannon, you there?
Yep, I'm here. So the reason I'm even involved in this is that my 2 girls, one's in college, one's in high school, went down there and was actually on the beach at the time. And they got off the beach because of what was happening. So they could see that they actually, there was like a mob of people that were moving around. But so my husband went right back, they told him what happened and the fact that the police were there. They saw a very limited amount because they were down towards the ramp. But so my husband went down and his, not only obviously we're all concerned about what happened. We're all concerned about the safety, about the fact that they left a ton of trash. And honestly, I joined the Zoom late, so I'm sure it's all been said. The other issue that we're having is all the marijuana that's being smoked down there. So my husband and I walk the beach once a week. You can't go down there without that. And what do? You go up to every single person and say, you need to stop smoking marijuana. I'm trying to tell my kids not to do it. And that's all you smell down there. So I just think that it's important that we sort of set a policy. And it's a shame that, yes, that $50 thing can't go up to 200 or there's some sort of large deterrent to stop this. But, we don't want to our town to turn into this either. So we don't want this to be the party town. I think it's important. Whitehorse Beach 30, 40 years ago was a party town. But now the sense of partying is so much bigger. And, I certainly don't want this to get into the point where I'm starting to find needles because I'm always picking up the trash. Last year, I picked up a bra, I picked up underwear on the beach that people are leaving behind. We know why. And it's really quite disgusting. So I just think it's important that we sort of set up a solid, hard policy and deter these kids from coming. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Charlie O'Rourke.
Hi. I want to let you know that I'm also a member of the White Horse Beach Parking Committee, but I have some pretty strong feelings about what happened last week. We put a lot of time and effort into doing this. And honestly, and a personal feeling is I don't see the outrage from the other two selectmen who don't live in this area. If you were down there, if you had to have people parking in front of your house, that just paralyzes the whole area and all of the nonsense going on, I just think you would be a little more outraged about what's going on down there. We have new rules, and if you can't raise the fine, then tow them. It says on the sign, may be towed. Tow them. This has become the go-to place for whatever they did last week, the drinking, the whole thing. It has taken our houses away from us. I can't tell you how many of my neighbors, we have a house on AZF. I can't tell you how many of my neighbors have said, it's not worth staying here anymore. We're being held hostage during hot weather and the summer, okay? If you really want to do something, do it. Let's not talk about it. You need to, if you can't raise the ticket, tow. I'm pretty outraged, and the neighbors are outraged. I just don't see more outrage from the people on the select board that don't live there. I'm paying a lot of taxes, and they're not seeing it. There was 2 police officers, 2 cruisers there, 3 cruisers for hundreds of people. Come on. What are we going to do, select people? We need to do something here. I hope you share my outrage.
Diver, please.
Yes, hello. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
Good. I'd just like to make my own personal comments. I live at 6 Kevin Avenue, and obviously between Kevin Avenue and Scott Drive, we've enunciated that we're private roads and that we're trying to control our own parking situation. And obviously, we grossly failed. We, as a collective community of the 2 streets, we extended our own personal cost to put signs up. And it was a very, very failed attempt on our part. And I think that we need to get some more clarity from the police department, because right now we're in limbo. We are not acknowledged roads by the town of Plymouth. We did make a concerted effort to go forth and to go through the dynamics of becoming a public road because of the White Horse Beach parking area. And we were told that, oh, you go onto the agenda at the end of the summer in September. So we weren't even acknowledged. And as far as I'm concerned, we were ignored, because I think you folks in an elected position have failed in your jobs, period. You knew that when you did Taylor Avenue, you were doing nothing more than driving the parking situation from down to the beach into the residential neighborhoods. And this has been an ongoing problem for 30 years. And the town has never been able to put a handle on things, which identifies the taxpayers' concerns from everything that all these people have so wonderfully articulated, that from the urination to the whatever. I had an opportunity to go across the street this past weekend and then interrupt 4 young men that were sitting in the woods doing lines of cocaine. And I told them, you got 1 minute to get up and get out of my neighborhood and get off my street. Right after that, my next door neighbor, Sherry Janavelis, life was threatened by people that were parked across the street that were coming off of the beach. Now, I commend the police department because they showed up and they handled the profession in a very professional mannerism, right up until the place where the officer who was addressing the issue was almost run over by one of the out-of-state cars that took off down the street after he went out to address the issue with them. Now, we can pretend that this whole situation is going to go away, but it's not going to. The door is open, and it's going to become a repetitive situation where it's not going to go away unless you put the same mentality that we have a plan in place, which we execute on July 3rd. Now, the town has done a marvelous job in past years of controlling the situation on July 3rd. My suggestion is you post, you don't come down into this area unless you're a resident of Plymouth and you have proof and address if you're going to come down and you're going to visit somebody in this neighborhood, because there is nothing in place. $200 tickets, $500 tickets. It's not going to end. It's only going to perpetuate and get twice as worse. It's out of control. What happened with the boxing execution on the beach last week is only the tip of the iceberg. And we do not have any kind of fundamental plan in place which is going to adjust this. So unless you folks collectively come up with a command decision which shuts the beach down and allows us to gain control, the same verbiage and the same plan that was executed on July 3rd to take the beach back for the Plymouth and the residents of the White Horse Beach, it's going to fail. Already, our two streets have been overwhelmed. I counted 69 cars on Kevin Avenue alone last weekend. 69. The amount of people, the flow of traffic that is walking down the middle of Kevin Avenue to get to the beach, it's a matter of time before this town is going to see a tragedy. There's going to be a young person or a young family that's going to get hit by a car, because in front of my house right now is like the International Speedway. So unless you come up with a collaborative effort and make a decisive decision to end it right now, then all this conversation is for naught. Period.
Driver, we're giving you 6 minutes, and I appreciate it if you could close it up, please.
I thank you for your time, and I just hope that you understand the emphasis as to what we're dealing with. From Manamint Point Road to Kevin Avenue, we are the hotspot, and nothing is being done. Nothing is being done to control the situation. And this was not even May 28th when your alleged parking program is going to go into effect. I counted 31 cars from out of state that were parked on Scott Drive and Kevin Avenue this past weekend. So good luck, sir. I wish you the best, and I hope we can come up with a collaborated effort that ends the problem. But unless you make a hardcore decision, nothing is going to be addressed. The people on Azioff and Hilltop and Beach Street.
Okay, I have to move on to the next speaker with all
Please.
due respect. All right. Pam, please.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you in advance for your time. So there's a couple of suggestions that I just wanted to toss out there, and I know it's getting late, so I will talk fast. I'm at 15 Kevin, and there was about an hour and a half where I was working in my backyard. I didn't dare go to my own beach on Sunday because it was chaotic. I had no clue what was going down, which was the boxing match, but I definitely know that was a huge factor of the extra chaos that we saw, combined with being 90 degrees and the first real hot day of not even the summer yet. So I'm praying that that boxing match alone will account for half of the chaos, the extra chaos that we all had this weekend. But while I was out back, my house is situated right across from the condos and the boardwalk to the beach. And I just saw 3 close calls where people are unloading and loading their beach gear and people, which is understandable because they're parked so far away now. But at one point there was 2 and 3 cars parked at the boardwalk to load and unload while people are using the crosswalk. And I saw 3 near misses in an hour and a half. So I don't know if there could be a clothed officer at that boardwalk all the time on the weekends, especially when it's over 70 degrees. Because a lot of this is weather dependent. I mean, if it's a crappy day, we're not going to have these problems and things can be adjusted accordingly. But you know, if it is a gorgeous weekend day, that's when all bets are off and we need the extra protection. So the crosswalk is a concern. I know Charlie had mentioned the tow trucks. We don't have any tow trucks visible. I think it would be a great idea to throw 2 or 3 tow trucks in maybe the 54 Taylor lot, just so people see them there, and it might let them know that we mean business. Another thing I would love to see is 1, if not 2, handicap parking spots on Taylor across from the boardwalk at the condos, because you know, if an elderly person or a handicapped person can make it up and over the stairs and back down the other side, they can enjoy a beach day, but not if they have to park a mile away. It would also free up a little extra room at that crosswalk. If there were no handicap takers to use the spots, it would keep that area a little extra open for safety reasons. My neighbor out back, in talking to her yesterday, she told me that the condominium parking lot was absolutely packed. I don't know why I didn't even notice that while I was out back, but she said there must have been 50+ cars, not from the condos, using the condos to go to the beach for the boxing match. And normally I know that they have their own security guard that, you know, checks people coming and going at the condo parking lot, but where it's so early in the season, of course, that isn't up and running yet. I don't know if it will be. I don't think we have any control over it. But hopefully the condos can get on board with securing their parking lot a little bit better. 2 more things. And I know this has been mentioned, but plain clothed officers on the beach, not just for, I mean, there should be so many cover officers on the beach looking for underage drinking. I think underage drinking and marijuana smoking, although it is legal, so that's a problem. But the underage drinking is out of control. It's legally probably not feasible for cops to look into coolers if they suspect people are coming onto the beach who are 16 with a cooler full of beer. I don't know the logistics of that. But if they see someone who looks 15 drinking a beer or a bottle of vodka in their hand or puking, they should be able to inquire and arrest. And those kids are driving out of here smashed. And the flow of traffic seems to be coming off the beach, about 5 o'clock, when a lot of families with kids and dog owners are walking their children in strollers and their dogs on a leash. And that is the worst time for a normal civilian to be walking on Taylor or Kevin or Manamet Point Road, because frankly, their life is at risk because there's so many drinking and driving people around here. It's not even funny. This is another thought, maybe set up some checkpoints every once in a while at the end of White Horse Beach Road and Manamet Point. So there's no way to go.
Glenn, you've had 5 minutes, so if you could wrap it up, please.
And my last point is, if we could afford at least 1 environmental cop down there on a nice weekend day to protect the dunes, because we all know it's only a matter of a week or 2 where the lovely wooden fence is going to become bonfire wood. And everyone's going to be running up into the sandy dunes, doing their business, having sex, and doing whatever else they're doing. So an environmental cop down there on the weekends is another suggestion. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, we put an hour out to public comment on this subject. I'm gonna bring it back to the board now for comments from the board. Betty?
Yes, so a couple of things that I wanted to address. Although at this point, we can't just stick the ticket price to $200. There is special legislation that I know that I want to move forward and have it on the fall town meeting warrant and actually bring it to our state legislation to actually change that. So that's the one thing I know people are, why can't we? There are laws in place, but my plan is to get it to a place where we can change it. I've already talked to our state rep today. I've spoken with the town manager and, our chairman. So that's one of the plans. I mean, we all, obviously you guys all know that I live here. Mr. Helm lives here. We all are upset about it. It doesn't matter, this board, if they live here, if they don't, they've heard from us. They know how upsetting this is. They know that we have to gain control of it. And, I actually don't disagree much with putting something together like a 3rd of July, enforcement, because without enforcement, we're never going to stop the behavior. So I know that we all support enforcement. I mean, we're not just talking about it. We are moving forward. We've had conversations with the police chief, with the captains, with the town manager. So please don't feel like that we're just ignoring it. I know I was here. My kids were on the beach. I was horrified when I heard, what was going on down there, because I could actually hear it sitting outside. I had quite a few residents stop by and chat with me. So, I mean, we're not ignoring it. I do believe that the whole sticker thing might hopefully work, but you're right. We need enforcement, and we need strong enforcement. 1 or 2 or 3 police officers is not going to work. So I implore the board to please support enforcement. If we need more money for enforcement, I have no problem asking the town manager to go to FinCom for emergency funding, but we have to make a concerted effort and concentrate to get this under control, because there's a lot going on down there. And, a couple people said the drinking and everything like that. Those people are leaving the beach intoxicated. So, I mean, I agree with everybody that has said anything on here, and I'm sure the rest of the board does as well. But I just want you guys to know, just because we're not out there screaming as selectmen about it, although some of us are, but that doesn't mean that not every single one of us is concerned about it. So please don't think that. I know we're going to move forward. We are going to have a plan. The enforcement starts this weekend. I see there's a little rain in the forecast for Saturday. It's pretty sad when you're a Whitehorse Beach resident and you pray for rain, and we shouldn't have to do that. So I just want everybody to know that this is a board effort. You have 4 people here that, we want to make it right. So
Board did also vote the $30,000 for additional specialized specific enforcement for Whitehorse Beach via police officers. It doesn't start till July 1st because, of course, it was a new fiscal year. That's the way the budget works. But you did set aside that funding, and that was fully supported by the board, and I think overwhelmingly supported by town meeting.
Harry?
Thank you. Just want to start out mentioning what Pam Hoagland said, and that I agree. I hope that the Fight Club was an isolated incident and that it was half of the issue. The problem is it created a message to all of those people who are probably out there on social media right now talking about the walloping hell of a time that they had on Whitehorse Beach, and how there was nobody checking coolers, there was nobody checking anything, and if you want to party down, go to Whitehorse Beach. Okay, that message is out there. If we think that this is an isolated event, the only isolated event is going to be that fight club. The rest of the outrageous behaviors, the drunkenness, the public urination, the public defecation, just the lewd behavior, the marijuana smoking on a public beach, which is illegal, open containers or alcohol on the beach, which is illegal. Those aren't going to be isolated incidents anymore. And this is a major problem. And it's a major problem for Plymouth. It isn't just a major problem for the residents down here. And I just want to talk to the people, say to the people of Plymouth, this is your beach, okay? With the parking program, you are now enabled, okay, should there be proper enforcement, with your sticker, if Plymouth Beach, Long Beach is closed for you because it's full, you can hop on 3A and go 5 minutes south, and you can come to White Horse Beach, okay? And so under the scenario, you can now find parking there. That makes it even more your beach. And it makes it even more the beach for the families of Plymouth. And right now, I'm hard pressed, if asked, to recommend that anyone, family, single, whoever, come to White Horse Beach on the weekend. This Sunday I've been here I've owned since 1996 and basically spent almost every single weekend here. I moved here permanently about 10 years ago. This is the worst I have seen White Horse Beach since the really bad days of July 3rd, before the police really cracked down. And I'm going to echo everybody who said it's about enforcement. And it's not just about enforcement of the parking program. It is about a strong response. It's like about a July 3rd type response to this. It needs to be massive. It needs to be overall, and it needs to be a message to these people that we have given the previous message to over the last year, and on Sunday to come to Plymouth and just, you can have at it and do whatever you want to do. We have no choice but to up our enforcement. It's not an option. It's for the entire town. And frankly, and I'll close just with by the end of the day on Sunday, my overall reaction to this was not shock, upset. I was really sad. And I was really, really sad for Plymouth. Okay. Our hometown, America's hometown, to be absolutely, over invaded by people who, residents or not, they just didn't care about proper behavior. That's not what Plymouth is about. That's not the message that we should have sent out over social media or wherever, that this is what Plymouth is about. And I'll just say, we need enforcement, period. No looking at things, no studying. We need to ramp up the enforcement, and we need to do it right away. Thank you.
Patrick?
Thank you. And I agree with my colleagues here, Horseman, and everyone who spoke this evening as well. I just want to ask, before I have another comment, town manager, because I don't think anyone from our police department is on here. We know there's another weekend, holiday weekend coming up in a few days. Has there been any discussions or plans made already from our police department about how they're going to address this upcoming weekend?
I met with the police chief today. I also talked to both captains, but about a variety of issues, not specifically the subject. I know they've had internal discussions about what they're going to do for staffing, but details yet.
Right, because I know that they're taking this as seriously as the rest of us. And I think that's our key right there. We know open containers are illegal. There's certain things that are just illegal. Now, you can't search people's coolers as they come in, but if people have open containers, that's something that can be enforced. And I think that's the plan that I'd like to see in what's going to happen this weekend, because they're taking this very seriously. And we know we've already committed additional funds to do this. So I think taken a little by surprise that it happened that soon, no doubt. But moving forward, I know that those funds are going to go to the use that we allocated them for through town meeting, which is to enforce. And I would like to just make sure that before this weekend or as soon as possible, if the board can get an update that we can share with the residents of how it's going to be enforced this weekend. Because I agree with my colleagues that if there's an understanding that maybe there's kind of a free-for-all, people are going to come back. I think the first weekend after that, it's important that we show that this is not a place where that's accepted and that there's going to be enforcement and consequences if people come and have that type of behavior again. And I think that that message has to be very strong, especially this coming weekend.
Mr. Helm, then Mrs. Cavaco.
Yeah, just to follow up, Melissa, were you able to find out two things? First of all, I really question that why coolers can't be checked. I understand there's an issue of probable cause, but given the situation down there, I think there is probable cause. But more importantly for the parking, because obviously the $50 ticket doesn't matter to any of these folks. Can we tow?
So there are very specific rules about towing. The chief has gone through those before as this issue came up, and I put them in my town manager report. I don't have that here with me this evening, but you have to actively make a concerted effort to find the person whose vehicle it is. I guess you could just tow, and then just the town would be, responsible for any costs and any problems that come with it. I did a quick Google now to look for legal reasons to tow a vehicle. And it is, of course, like everything, has some legal complications to it. But we can, I can ask the chief if he can put down for you, just maybe succinctly, how and when they can tow and it's upheld.
And Melissa, while you do that, could you please also have him or our attorney or legal firm explain why they can't check, they can't have people open coolers?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I can include that search procedure. Absolutely.
Betty?
So I don't know if everybody's reading the chat and people are sending me private messages, but there is another, they said they are meeting again on Whitehorse Beach this weekend, and it appears that it's one of the fighters from last week, and that is posted on Instagram. So, and Melissa, I didn't realize that that additional $30,000 wasn't available till July. Do we need to go to FinCom if we have to and get funding now? Because we can't wait till July for like super enforcement, dedicated enforcement.
So I don't know here and now what is left in the police department overtime budget line item. In addition, of course, you always have to look at availability of staff. I don't know what he has on a regular shift on the weekend, on the different shifts throughout the day. So those are all staffing requirements he'll need to look at. And if he has to, I believe that contract has mandatory overtime. So if he has to order people into work, I believe he has that ability. I know he has it on holidays. I just don't know about if he has it on other days under the union contract, but I can check.
And on top of that as well, is that if we can't get the people and they can't force people, can we please reach out to the sheriff's department and maybe they can help if it's possible?
Sure, we could look at what our other avenues, what alternatives are. If we don't have the staffing or the forced overtime to mandate people in every weekend, what other avenues we can go to, including maybe the sheriff's department or private security.
Melissa, would you also check in about the state police? It appears that Narragansett, Rhode Island dealt very effectively with the same problem by bringing the state police in.
Absolutely, that's a great suggestion.
And I just received another message that said my son heard, and it's not my son, my son heard the next fight is going to be tomorrow. So my son will be at school. But, and like I said, I'm sure this board agrees that we cannot wait for any kind of dedicated enforcement until July. So whatever, whatever the plan is, I think we need to know exactly what the enforcement plan is going to be, because that seems to be the question amongst all of us and amongst all the residents. So I think if we could get something like that quickly, I know Harry, I believe you asked for it. So just wondering, we didn't get anything back yet, did we?
No.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind, Melissa.
So I have that we'll put together a written report this week with information regarding full police enforcement every weekend, particularly weather related. A written work plan, which includes number of staffing, the hours, open containers, explanations on the towing and the searching of coolers. Related is holding a fall town meeting warrant for the special legislation to increase the tickets significantly for violations, and supplementing the enforcement with sheriff or state police or another authority.
Perfect.
Thank you. Anything else from the board members? Does that cover it all?
Does.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna move on. If, well, when you get your responses back, if you feel the need to put, make this a docket item, we will. When we have more time and dedicated to it.
Mr. Quintel, just one more thing. And town manager, maybe you can get this answer. Can we give tickets every 2 hours? Someone just put that in the chat. And like if you give a ticket and they haven't moved, can you go back every couple hours and give an additional ticket? I
believe there is a reasonableness standard on that. So certainly, like anything, when you do it, somebody can challenge us in court, or they can challenge it through the appeal process, but that wouldn't prevent us from doing it on a reasonable determination.
Correct. And one of the things that I heard from someone that received a ticket that wasn't from here, just rip it up and throw it away. And people need to realize if you do that, it actually affects your license and your license renewal. So you may want to pay attention to those things. So, and that's another thing as well, is that if we can't, I think we need to just come out as strong as we can, whether it's every 2 hours, every 3 hours, however the chief says we could do reasonably. I would like us to do that, please. That's it for me.
Okay. Thank you. So like I said, let's see how the answers come back and how the board feels, and we can always dedicate docket space for it. But I think we understand what everybody's saying. So thank you. I'm going to move on to the town manager's report. I'm going to come back to if that's okay. So we can do the license and administrative notes. Project Arts of Plymouth Incorporated, 780 Plymouth, Mass. Has requested an outdoor amplified music permit for a concert being held on Wednesday, July 14th, 2021 to September 8th, 2021 from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at the DCR Pilgrim Memorial Park amphitheater located on Water Street.
Motion?
Second.
First and seconded. All those in favor, raise your hands. Unanimous. Thank you. And I'd like to go back to the town manager's report, if I may. I think I got them all right. Nothing else on that.
Sure, thank you very much. So just a couple of items to point out to you. When you do have an opportunity, if you can make sure you take a look at our general obligation municipal purpose loan, that's something that we're very proud of as a community. And I want to thank the finance director and her staff for all their work on that. The refunding saved us quite a bit of money. And we continue to have a AA+ bond rating, and that's something for the town to be proud of. I added some specific information on the second page of my report about some items that came up last week. My recommendation on my thoughts, if the board takes these up again. The one item I have to add to that is when it comes to subsidizing the July 4th events, the number of patrolmen that we have on typically for the July 4th events would run us around $50,000. So with it just being the fireworks and some other events for that day, it will be somewhere in the range of $30,000. I don't think the budget can afford to absorb all of that. So I may need your support as we move forward with that event, going back for more funding to cover those public safety costs.
Melissa, if I may,
Mhm.
at the VSB meeting earlier today, Mr. Wells was there with his budget. We approved an additional $10,000 that was originally for the parade over to the for the 4th. And the PGDC has also forwarded $5,000, and that is for public safety, if you will, what you just mentioned, as well as the 10,000 that's been set aside for that also.
So
And I know in
$15,000
our
set
budget-
aside for public safety, that's
Right,
great.
well, yeah, you can say it like that, but the PGDC is always for,
Yeah.
so is VSB. And there's 10,000 in our account, well, our account, excuse me, in the town manager's budget also for that, correct? So
Yes.
the budget that was
July-
presented today, yes.
Yes, the July 4th has
today-
reached out for that $10,000. We knew they
Right.
were going to the VSB for additional funding, and I didn't know about PGDC, but that's great. But if some of that money is dedicated to cover the police department expenses, I'll check in with Matt in the morning, and that would be incredibly helpful.
Because the way that it was presented by Mr. Wells, because he was at the VSB meeting, the $70,000 number, that was all included. So, because we went through that all with him earlier, you know, asking, the members asking questions and so on. So I believe they're gonna be A-okay, but please check with them in the morning, and if not, we'll come back and visit it again.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Just reporting that we finally sold 10 Oak Street to the Plymouth Housing Authority. That has been completed. I'd also like to bring your attention to item number 11. That is just, I'd like to be able to talk about some of the great things that are happening in the community, and consistently bringing in all these grants is incredibly helpful. So I wanted to thank Lee Hartman for his work on that. And in regards to the building committee, item number 12, I think it's important to let the public know the assistant town manager attended the building committee meeting where they supported the architect and owner's project manager recommendation to discontinue the use of the Bourne Road Fire Station in the future. That's something for us to be thinking about. We'll be relocating that station.
Excuse me,
I'd like
I
to
have
point
that
to
highlighted. That was gonna be one of my questions.
Mhm.
So I'm sorry, because this keeps stopping on me, as I said. I have that highlighted. And so what'll happen? I mean, are we gonna use it until, I mean, are we shutting it down, or are we moving it, no?
No, we're not going to shut it down. We'll be using the station as we look for a final report about locations where we could relocate the new station and what we can do. So yes, they'll be staying there for now. Marlene, are we doing any specific work in there between now and then?
We are going to try to limit the amount of money that we invest in that building. But there may be some, there may be some minor things that we still do while we're using it before we find a new site for a new station.
Okay, thank you.
And finally, I just wanted to mention item number 13, the new state holiday that's been recognized by Governor Charlie Baker. So that'll take place on June 19th. That is a Saturday, I believe, this year. So that will be recognized depending on the different collective bargaining agreements. But for town hall, that will mean a town hall closing on the Friday before that date in recognition of the holiday. And that has been offered to all town and school employees. And the last item, Mr. Chairman, I thought you might want to mention is just item number 14, and that is your tentative summer schedule, with the understanding that at any point we could have emergencies that arise that the board has always accommodated staff with when we need to meet.
Thank you. I just crossed another one off because I was gonna add that to it. I mean, long as the board can get its work done, you know, unless something comes up, but that's fine. Thank you. Yep. Any questions from board members or comments on the town manager's report? I just have one, Melissa. Which one was it? Number 9. Oh, White Horse Beach. Accessibility. I put a call into you earlier today on, I'm gonna call it the rollout ramp. And as I know, the funds, I believe, were passing through Barry de Blasio from like Park Plymouth, if people illegally park in front of disabled spots, that the money goes to them, and it has been. So the question were you able to get an answer on, talk to Barry yet, or no?
There was a meeting there this morning, a little difference of opinion internally about where exactly to put the ramp. The ideal spot, the problem with is that's where the truck travels to pick up the rubbish. And as we all know, the amount of rubbish that accumulates on White Horse Beach, it's difficult to work around the tides. It's actually impossible to do that. We need to be able to get down there. So we'll work those differences of opinion out internally, and I'll give you an update in a couple weeks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the town manager? Okay, we'll move on to the administrative notes, please. Any questions on the administrative notes? Melissa, I would just like to ask you a little bit about number 4. And that is the Moonrise Cinemas at 428 Court Street. It's an outside restaurant and beer garden. It's fenced in, and I had the opportunity to speak with the owner today. And just so how it's done, I just want it to be, you know, clear. That's all of what we're doing and why we're doing it this way.
Pretty exciting. Something we're really looking forward for the residents. They wanted, well, I actually thought it was a great idea for there to be a trial run. So we used a special event permit process. I think it's going to be helpful to have that kind of feedback when they do go before the Zoning Board of Appeals. Paul McAuliffe was retiring, but he is still helping us out a few hours a week. He was a little hesitant, thinking that if it requires a Zoning Board of Appeals and a special permit, is the special event process circumventing that. It had worked well the last 2 times that we did kind of these drive-in different parts of town. So I thought it was a good idea, actually. And Paul and I talked it out and we were able to work it out. But I did feel that because he was worried about that professionally, I felt having a formal board vote could not hurt. And I have signed off on that special event process. And I'd really like your support with this. I think it's a great thing for the community.
Okay, well, any questions from the board? Well, if I may, I have driven through there, and it is all fenced in. It's the old Stop and Shop property on the town line. And I actually went out and spoke with the landlord that owns the property also. And because I told him the shrubs need a little love, and, you know, things like that needed to be repaired if you're going to entertain people over there. And he totally agreed with me. And he's a neighbor, by the way. So I'll be watching for the love. But on another note, I was concerned with, this is my concern with it. It's large. So I asked him, you know, what about overflow parking? So in other words, from what I was seeing over there and what they've got fenced off, it's a large area. I says, if you fill that up with people, the cars are going to be down in Kingston somewhere. So he explained to me that the vehicles actually are going to go inside the fenced in area. So I was like, oh, okay. So that, you know, because I thought that was just all for people. And, you know, I guess my concern was the parking. And I was talking to my neighbors this weekend, just talking, say, what do you think about the theater? And they were all like, well, we're worried about the parking. I said, so I guess at the end of the conversation is I hope that they can put all the cars over there and they're not out on Court Street, because if you know this area of town, the right-hand side, if you're heading north, there is parking on the right-hand side already. So that's, if we could kind of keep an eye on that, and it be depending on, ZBA approval, I myself am okay with that. I'm, for business, and I know there's a lot of residents that are excited about it. So, and I did ask the landlord, if you will, where we would park all, if you've been over to the lot, you'll see the limousines, and, they lease those or they do pickup service. And he said those would be all moved over to the side too, to create additional parking. So I'll say we try it and see what happens, for me anyway, but.
How about a select board and fourth floor outing?
The wishes of the board. So, do we need a motion for that, or are we just okay with letting it be as is, or what do you prefer?
They're administrative notes, so the board typically, I know that Chairman Tavares had gotten in the habit of voting them individually prior. We voted them as a group. I'll leave that up to you.
Okay, the pleasure of the board.
So moved as a group.
Seconded as a group.
First and seconded as a group. Mrs. Cavaco,
Yes.
Mr. Flaherty,
Yes.
Mr. Helm,
Yes.
and myself, yes, unanimous. Okay, this is the one.
Well, there you go.
Oh, boy.
Well, that's timing. This is the one.
I'm just going to continue on for him.
Thank you.
He'll get back in. So, committee liaison and designee updates. Patrick?
Yep, thank you. I just wanted to share that the Climate, Energy, and Environmental Task Force effort that we've been working on since February is coming to a close of the first phase of voting on prioritizing some of the projects and initiatives that came forward. I'm just really happy to see the participation from so many different groups across the town and individuals, and that the next steps we'll be talking about in the upcoming meetings. But really, the whole purpose of this is to give an opportunity to organize the feedback on a lot of these different initiatives and projects that are coming from all different directions in the community to town staff, and then give an answer in one collective way. And so this isn't something that's going to be a one and done. It's meant to be a collaborative effort where if there's input that the town needs to put towards something that can be done or it can't be done, or it needs a town meeting vote, or it needs funding, or it needs a grant, that there'll be just a way that we can get those answers out to the public. So I'm happy to see so much participation and interest in this over the last few weeks, especially. And just if there's anyone who wants to learn more, you can always reach out to myself, or it's on the town website under the news. There's all the details of what's going on with that. But I just appreciate the participation.
Mr. Chairman, I continued on while you were frozen.
Thank you very much.
So we're at committee liaison designee updates, if you have any.
Not at this time. Thank you. Anybody have anything on the old business? Letters? Oh, okay. Betty?
Well, I mean, it's old business, it's new business, so it's, I think it's just a bunch of stuff. We heard from a couple of people from Whitehorse Beach. I know Mrs. Baker, who's the chair from the Manamet Village Steering Committee. She did ask for a sign to be placed at the Taylor Ave lot. So I would like the board to, or instruct the town manager to have that done. And also and I know Barry de Blasio is the Disabilities Commission guy. if he could take a look at the handicap parking spots near that boardwalk down at the Taylor Ave, across from the condos. If he could maybe take a look at that and see if there's something that we could put there. If we could put a couple spots there, if that would be okay, Melissa, please.
Can you just explain again where you mean so I can make sure I tell Barry the right spot?
So the condos that are on the beach, there is, and I think right now they're trying to replace the stairs, and that's another thing that I'm going to bring up to you. There are parking spots that they're asking for handicap parking right at those stairs that go down. So it's the most south side stairwell before it turns into Manamint Point Road on Taylor Ave.
There are,
Say something?
yeah, can I just clarify for Melissa? There are 2 spots adjacent to across the street from that boardwalk, if that's the one they're talking about, and in between on the opposite side as well from Boathouse Lane. They're like, it's an amorphous sort of, it's the last place that you can park. It's the only place you can park on Manamint Point Road, if that's what they're talking about.
I think I have the location. I'll probably, when I send the email tomorrow, just clear it with you. I just want to send staff out to do work and not have what you're looking for.
Okay, and then I have one more, is that actually on Taylor Ave, Melissa, I guess the condo association are trying to get their stairs rebuilt, and they're having a few snags with the permitting process. If maybe you could take a look into that and see what the holdup is, because I know they can't access the beach without the stairs, and I believe the stairs were destroyed in a storm.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the application? This is a building application, and do you know when it was submitted or what the name is on the submission?
I would think it's Ocean Point Association, Condo Association.
It
I don't know.
could
Do you
be,
know what they're called?
it could be the dunes at Ocean Point. And I think that some of the permitting would be with conservation as well, since it goes through the dunes and down to the beach.
Okay.
Okay. And that's like the Point Road access boardwalk, because I'm getting messages here saying that's the Point Road boardwalk.
Wait, so I'm not looking up, when I look it up in the system, I'm not looking up dunes at Ocean Point or the Ocean Point Association, I'm looking up something else?
Yep, you're looking up, I just got a message from the chair, Ocean Point Management Trust.
Okay.
So with that, anything else under new business? Excuse me, old business. Betty's confusing me.
Why stop now? That's all I have.
Thank you, Betty. Anything under letters? No? New business? Okay, I just have 2 things, Melissa. One, I got a call from Almeida's on Columbus Road. Apparently, when you Google the new Amazon facility, it looks like it takes you up that road. So they were wondering if they could have a sign put there, and I don't know what the procedure is for that, but they're having a lot of people speeding up the mountain only to turn around. WPLM also, they said there was complaining about it. So if you look for directions, it takes you up that way.
Sure. What do you want the sign to say, Dickie?
Well, they're asking, and I can give you their name. You can reach out to them or whoever. It's Paul Almeida. He's the one that actually called me. And I do see your hand, Patrick. So, Patrick?
I was going to say that if it's Google Maps that's doing that, it is a nightmare to try and get that fixed. It takes like 6 months to a year for that to flip over. It's dealt with something similar. So there's a process that you got to start, and it will eventually get fixed. But I can maybe send some links over that might be helpful too. That I took a long time to figure that out, but it's not fun. Takes a long time.
No, and especially if you know the road, you know what I'm talking about going up.
Oh yeah, yep.
So they're speeding up there and then they're coming to the corners and they're just afraid someone's gonna get hurt. So they're actually looking for a, dead end or not a throughway, whatever, whoever
Yeah.
decides what to put there for now might help. And then the last thing I have is on Sunday at 7:47, roughly right that time, sunset, in Town Square, the bell will toll. Chairman Tavares started that tradition a while back in COVID, and I'd like to continue it. And it will go on this Sunday at 7:45. The bell will toll. And that is all I have. And Mrs. Cavaco?
I have just one more thing, just to give you some clarification, Melissa. I'm getting a message from the chair of the Ocean Point Management Trust. The South Boardwalk is private. The northernmost one is public, but they all have stairs. So the handicap spots that we're talking about was the original, the dunes on the beach before you get to Manamet Point Road. They're actually on Taylor Ave. And because the other one is private.
I'm sorry, now you've completely lost me. So
I figured.
Melissa,
Talking about, Harry?
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I was kind of surprised when it did end up being interpreted as the southernmost. There are the dunes at Ocean Point, so the big con.
Selectman Helm, would it be easier rather than doing this here if we could just maybe talk tomorrow and you can?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Or when the crew's going to go, you can let me know and I can show them.
Okay.
Take a picture.
We'll talk tomorrow. All right.
Anything else? Seeing nothing, waiting for a motion to adjourn. And then I'd like to wish all the viewers and the people of Plymouth and the board to have a good week and a good night. Waiting on your motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Thank you. Have a good night, all.